Oh, you know what? I haven't had this much coaching since the beginning of my career. So the executive producer wants me to start the show out with outnumbered over time. Go Tom Brady?
No.
I have to ask it as a question mark because I was born in Atlanta, so you can imagine my enthusiasm. So what I think is interesting about the idea that the media, some of the sports media, want Tom Brady to talk about, because we talked about this on the TV version of Us, Eric, want him to talk about his friendship with Donald Trump. I just find him to be someone who's really grounded in knowing what he needs to do leading up to a game.
Yeah.
I don't think that it is that he
just
resists
deflate the balls
about
a little bit, make sure that's all good. We're all good with the inflation. But here's the thing: we beat up the celebrities who weigh in on politics. I can't stand it personally. I don't want my athletes doing it either. I prefer them not. I would, Eboni pointed something out in the show that Kaepernick had the right to do what he did. Well, I think he had the right to do what he did, but it was disgusting what he did and despicable. And I think the team had the right to come down a little bit harder on him for what he did, because you also pointed out that NFL had a rough year.
Yeah, they did.
And a lot of people are pointing to Kaepernick's protest of the American flag as part of the reason for that rough year.
Might be part of it, though, but I think the concussion thing, I think there's a lot of
domestic violence among
the Giants kicker admitting to it was a lot of, it wasn't just Kaepernick.
There was a slide that started a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Listen, domestic violence and some of the things that are going on in the NFL this year had been going on for a while. I can remember.
That's what I'm saying. It started.
Yeah.
I think people are just completely Tom Brady crazy. I mean, the New York Post for days has had a story about his diet, and it gets so many hits.
His diet's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It's like
and he and Giselle are kind of on similar diets.
It is. It's Rita. It's ridiculous. It's like spinach, grain,
carrot.
They're never. Their idea of a splurge is like it was like soy,
a banana
chicken.
was a splurge. He said.
Oh, sugar.
It's ridiculous. Wow. I was like, I would be starving and in a prison if I had his diet. I would go crazy.
But to his point, and this made the most sense, and it makes sense for him to say that's why he follows such diet, is he said for him to have lasted as long as he has in the NFL, he couldn't have done that eating cheeseburgers, and that's true. Makes a bit of sense.
I gotta tell you, I worked at Saturday Night Live in college, as the show knows, and when he was the host on one of the shows, I specifically remember him being one of the loveliest and nicest to all the staff, and friendly, and signing autographs for people, and that wasn't everybody that came on when I worked there.
A little inside football also, another reason why he's lasted is, was he 39?
Yes,
39. He's going to be 40. Is because the Patriots, he's not a mobile quarterback. He doesn't get out of the pocket. He doesn't take the big hits.
To be protected.
He sits in that pocket, and to the Patriots' credit, they've protected him for the better part of
They spend the money to make sure that he has the protection. I agree.
Absolutely, and that's always helpful. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, is all over the field, gets hit everywhere. I can't imagine he's 40 years old still there.
I think it's Cam Newton. He took a lot of hits.
Oh boy, did he take some hits.
In all seriousness, that was rough.
Well, and he called out his O-line for that too.
Yeah.
All right. Enough about the Patriots.
All right. Because Lady Gaga came up during the TV version of Us, what is your favorite Lady Gaga song? Perfect Illusion. Anybody else?
Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones.
Are you asking what our favorite Lady Gaga?
I loved her new album.
On the live chat is.
Her new album, Jolene, is really, it's like country. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I love her.
And then there's a very heated debate going on right now about illegal immigration.
Shocking.
And I know I'm kind of going through here, and there's just so many of them. I'm looking for a trend.
People are heated on that issue.
I checked my Twitter, Harrison. It was like half my Twitter feed was Californians saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm conservative too." Because during the show I said there are four conservatives in California, 4 or 5 conservatives in California.
They stay in hiding, though.
James E. Johnston writes, Democrats are harping on the SCOTUS selection as having been stolen from them. Well, if they had done their jobs properly and kept or regained the majority in the Senate, they would have been able to ram their pick through, blah, blah, blah. Anybody want to take that on?
Or if they would have, as Eric pointed out, understood the gravity of the pick and showed up at the polls to vote for Hillary Clinton. They had a lot of other options.
That said, there was something that I think the Republicans could have done and should have done with Merrick Garland. They could have had the hearing.
That was my point.
Why didn't they have the hearing?
I never expected him to be confirmed, like you said. He should.
I have a theory.
Okay, so what is that?
Because I think he was moderate enough that it would have looked embarrassing for the Republicans not to back him.
All right.
Okay, but
this looks embarrassing too, though.
Right.
Oh no, this is worse because this is divisive.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people felt like that was
worse than going through a hearing and then maybe looking like, oh, well, maybe this guy isn't so bad, than just not even showing up.
So wait, so
Listen.
going back. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Megan.
No,
Anyway, thanks to James for his
it's
question.
incredibly politically turbulent times on both sides in every factions. I'm not surprised that it's devolving into this mob mentality, as I said earlier on the show, and it's really bad for America. I think all of it collectively is really bad for the American public. I think it's why Congress has a 12 or 13% approval rating. I don't remember. And I wish Democrats would take a breath at this moment, reconvene, as we talked about many
What could
times.
be a catalyst for that moment?
Put people like Tim Ryan on TV, put more moderate, middle-of-the-road, blue dog Democrats who are more representative of the demographic. If you guys go, not you, you're an independent, but if Democrats go completely left and talk about putting people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders in as the ultimate leadership and Chuck Schumer, I just don't see what path that leads to.
Here's where I think the problem is, and I agree. I think, first of all, Schumer, Liz Warren, Bernie, and Pelosi are so old news and ineffective, and if they were effective in leadership, the party wouldn't be in the predicament they're in, quite frankly. But here's the issue. I think because President Trump is being quite conservative and doing things that it's going to be really hard for moderate Democrats to policy-wise, I think, work with him, it's going to be a challenge for them, Megan. I think for the American people, you're right. It's in the best interest to have this kind of work together, meet in the middle where we can approach. I think those blue dog Democrats, and it's the reason why we don't hardly have blue dog Democrats
Yeah, they don't even
anymore.
call them that anymore
because
they're
it's so
few.
demonized, and it really
I think there's literally two.
Yeah.
I want to bring this up because I talked about it a little bit earlier during our TV hour. Fed Up in Lakewood says, I expected more talk about Pelosi's town hall last night. Liam says maybe in OT, and this person says it was embarrassing. The Dems should kindly show her the door. So we've had healthy discussions about ushering not just new blood, but just a younger perspective, and that's no disrespect to anybody else, you know, in terms of their age, but a younger perspective on what's happening here, because a lot of the outreach for people has been through social media. And I don't know how active Nancy Pelosi is on her social media, but last night when they were talking about things that were happening at the border, I mean, it seemed to skip over her a little bit. She came with the monochromatic argument about everything was beige, but there was no plan for dealing with those illegals at the border.
I think
in particular,
talking about the generation split, I actually think it's very important that Democrats start identifying themselves as Hillary supporters or Bernie supporters, because there is a huge ideological split about the future of the Democratic Party. To me, there is a difference between talking to a Democrat who's in their 50s versus Republicans who are in their 20s and 30s who traditionally overwhelmingly supported Bernie Sanders. Huge ideological differences.
But he's
about
like
the future of the party.
70-something. How did he do it?
His age wasn't it. It was his messaging.
His message, and that's why I'm going to push back on you guys, that I don't think the Democrats have a shot in, you know, of winning anything if they do move to the center, to be more centrist.
That's what I just said.
No, I think they need to go far left. They have to go after that socialist, that thing that Bernie Sanders carved out that got stolen from him for whatever reasons. That's what it was. It was Donald Trump on the right being the outsider anti-establishment, Bernie Sanders on the left, and for some reason, Democrats decided to vote her, make her the nominee when they had a much better shot at winning the election with a Bernie Sanders or an Elizabeth Warren type than with Hillary.
Yeah, Joe Biden would have probably been their best bet because he would have been able to speak to that blue wall.
And by the way, he's not an extreme ideologue.
No, he's not. He's someone that understands
what
working together looks like, and it's really sad.
So I just put out the 2-minute warning on the live chat so people know, and I know you're watching us on Facebook Live too, so if you have any comments, I know Sandra looks at Facebook Live. Bradina says Hatch, who's usually soft-spoken, had enough of the Dems and said that they were shameful for boycotting, and I agree. So I'm getting some of your comments now. If I like your comment, it's because I want to get it in. What are you seeing on Facebook? Any shout-outs?
He had some other choice words, too.
He did, but I can't say those, and this person didn't choose to say them
Stop acting like idiots, is what he said.
Orrin Hatch, I mean, keep it real, man. He's been in office for a long time, and he's still like, you're being idiots. Everyone get together. I love when people
You like it?
I do. I mean, I love straight shooters, so yeah, of course I like that.
Okay.
Got a lot of people on, so we want to thank them. Anything you see? Any shout-outs on Facebook?
Well, I just logged on to Outnumbered Overtime.
Wow, just a lot. So, Eric, with the few seconds that we have left, you know, you talked about from the moment, you told the story real quickly from the moment you saw what Donald Trump was going to do before the election. Where do you think he is right now?
10 seconds.
I actually think he's uniting the people who were never Trumpers. They have to look up and say, you know, maybe this guy had something in mind that's good for us, too.
All right, really fun to have you, Eric.
Thank you
Thank you
for
guys
being
so
here,
much.
everybody. This was fun. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Almost got to it.